I had 2 copper hemispheres or shells made, approximately 3/4 of an L in diameter. I received them 67/100ths of an L in diameter, for the workmen are not accustomed to making things as accurately as they are asked to. They fitted very closely together, and to one of them was soldered a cock or kind of valve which allowed the air inside to be pumped out and prevented the exterior air from entering. In addition, 4 iron rings are soldered to it, to which horses can be harnessed. I also had a leather ring sewn as a gasket which was thoroughly saturated with a mixture of wax and turpentine so that no air would be let through. These hemispheres were fitted together with the leather ring in between, and then the air was quickly pumped out with the help of a connecting tube. Then I saw how great the force was with the shells pressed against the ring. They stuck so firmly to each other by the effect of the pressure of the air that 16 horses could not at all, or only with great difficulty, tear them apart. But if occasionally by the utmost exertion they succeed in pulling them apart, then there is an explosive noise like a gunshot. But as soon as the air is let in by opening the cock, anyone can merely separate and pull apart the shells with his bare hands. If one desires to know exactly how great is the weight which presses the hemispheres so strongly together, one should calculate the weight of a column of air 67/100ths of an L in diameter. The weight of this column of air is 2,686 pounds, and consequently the air pressure pushes one of the hemispheres with a weight of 2,686 pounds against the other. The other hemisphere in turn presses with the same weight in the opposite direction, so that 8 horses, when they tear them apart, sustain or exert a pull of 2,686 pounds. The remaining 8 horses on the other side exert an equally great opposing pull. Now, it is true that 8 horses can without any difficulty pull a wagon loaded with 2,686 pounds. But in our case, the pull is far stronger because it acts against the entire column of air and, as it were, more contrary to nature than does the pulling or drawing a load by means of a wagon.
From this last statement, it is clear that von Guericke did not understand the concept of gravity with respect to pulling a cart with wheels. However, he did appreciate that it would be harder to pull the load if it were not in the cart, but somehow suspended in the air. With this in mind, von Guericke goes on to suggest that the experiment be done differently by hanging weights from the hemispheres. He discovers that the weight necessary to separate the hemispheres varies slightly from day to day, and deduces that the weight variation required is due to changes in the atmosphere outside the sphere. Otto von Guericke performed countless experiments with his hemispheres. However, there is no doubt he was most excited about the gigantic experiment he performed in Magdeburg in May 1671. On October 22, 1983, Boston's Museum of Science and the New England chapter of the American Vacuum Society recreated von Guericke's famous Magdeburg hemispheres experiment. This was done in association with a historical exhibit commemorating the 30th anniversary of the American Vacuum Society. Even though the demonstration in Boston was done in the spirit of fun, a number of technical problems had to be considered during the design of the modern version of the hemispheres. At the Boston demonstration, 2 teams of horses each were used, each horse weighing over 1,600 pounds. The chambers were 24 inches in diameter and were made of 1/4 inch thick, deep dish steel without flanges. A commercially available bell jar gasket was used as the seal. The secret and drama of the demonstration lies in the question of the coordination of the effort of the two teams of horses, as well as the simultaneous application of the pulling force by each horse. Von Guericke was certainly a showsman and a scientist. He knew if a force was suddenly applied, the spheres would separate. Therefore, he went to great pains to demonstrate the vacuum phenomena with two teams of horses that did not pull on the hemispheres until the chains were taut. Watch carefully as the tape is shown again, and notice that the team of horses on the right side does jerk the sphere just before it separates. There are other reasons the spheres would come apart. Von Guericke certainly had difficulties with his original seals because in his final experiments he had to use a greased leather gasket and rather thick flange with a wide sealing surface. Such an arrangement would give an initial sealing pressure lower than the one used in the 1983 reenactment. Today, more than 400 years after von Guericke's first attempts to produce a vacuum, man is able to produce vacuums on Earth better than the vacuums found in outer space. If von Guericke were alive today, he might not recognize a modern vacuum pump, but he would certainly appreciate how his experiments contributed to today's vacuum technology.